Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing? Let me just adjust this. Hold on. There we go. How's everyone doing today? Sorry for missing yesterday. Had a pretty severe issue with one of the doggies, so I had to deal with that. That takes precedence. But I am back today. Good morning, John. Good morning, Sterling. Good morning, Patrick. I'm still trying to catch up on sleep and everything else, so I'm a little slow today. But I have looked at the markets. Durable goods, we'll review that in a second. Jobless claims came out also. And where is it? Yeah. Well, I mean, the GDP is backwards looking, but it still came in last quarter at 3%. You have jobless claims coming in very low. And I mean, and then they're talking about you sometimes have to shift to anecdotal data. So they say they're data dependent, but now it's anecdotal data. Which is it? They just want to do what they want to do. Get rid of this. Get rid of the Fed, please, 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 please. It's going to end up blowing everything up at the end of the day, creating bubble after bubble after bubble. It's buy everything mode, and if they think inflation's going away, it'll be shocking. Uh what else do we have? I don't trust Redfin. Reports buyers are coming back. Well, not around here. A lot of refis going on. A lot of refis going on. We have gold and silver going up. Good morning, Royal Palms. Good morning, Mark. What the heck is going on? Precious metals are trading like there's a catastrophe happening, and equities are trading like it's. And then you have, uh, you know, the short-term yield curve trading like everything's going to fall off a cliff. Everything's out again. We've been now it's in euphoria. You had Micron print decent results yesterday, but it's again buy everything, buy everything. All right, the equity market's trading like we've just bottomed. We've just bottomed, and hey, we've had a massive sell-off. We've just bottomed, and everything's at a great valuation. Uh, Gold's going vertical. So is silver. Copper's running. Things that are required to inputs, especially for production items and technology, and but inflation is magically going to disappear. And I'm not saying we can't have a few good months of decent inflation prints, but you watch out next year unless the economy falls off the cliff. But still, you can get very good stagflation. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, AS. Thank you. She's doing much better today. We had to deal with some surgery, a lot of blood loss. Good morning, Ted. Hello, Charles. Good morning, Anissa. Yeah, I saw that. Mark Cuban says the mainstream media truly leans right. Well, then I don't know what media I'm looking at, or I don't know the definition of right. Maybe right means left, and I don't know. Uh, oh well. Durable goods coming in, bouncing up, coming down from previous, but bouncing up from the consensus at 0. Growth rate coming in at 3, revised up from 2.9. It was forecast to come in 3. Initial jobless claims coming in at 218. Jobless claims still aren't showing. There's a lot of initial jobless claims still aren't showing that there's a lot of pressure now, unless the numbers are completely skewed. I don't know why there's not been a rise in initial jobless claims. I guess because we're creating so many part-time jobs instead of people filing for claims are just going to get a part-time job. All the data does not make sense. Continuous jobless claims, 1834, a little higher than previous, but nothing massive. Core PCE, this is the quarterly number coming in at 2.8 as expected, down from prior 3.7, and that's the prior quarter. So that was Q1, this is Q2. Corporate profits, 3.5%, up from the prior quarter. GDP sales coming in 1.9, down from 2.2 expected. Where do we sit? So, real consumer spending coming in slightly less than consensus, but higher than previous. Now we're lucky us, we get Collins, Kugler, Powell, big one will be Powell Williams, and Barr speaking. We got pending home sale numbers, which will tell us something if Redfin's right. Well, these are still back from August, but it'll tell us something if we got any. We'll have a baseline at least for September's numbers. We got the 15-30-year mortgage rates coming out. We got, is that supposed to be Kashkari speaking? Kakari. Kaka. All right. So that's, and to remember, tomorrow morning we have the August PCE numbers and consumer sentiment numbers. So it's buy all the chips based off Micron's results, buy all the mega caps, just buy it all except oil. Sell oil, even though the Middle East is going to blow up. Basic materials, technology, consumer cyclical, comm services, all leading with basic materials. Look at that. Go. I mean, again, it's buy it all. Gold's going vertical. This could be a blow off top in gold. This could start defining a longer term top in gold, but the trend is still up in the short term. So trail, from my perspective. Energy is the only thing really negative today. Everything else is positive. Now, in everything's coming in great, and we have no problems. The Fed Watch tool, 54% for a 50 bip cut in November. So everything's so fantastic. You have to do back-to-back 50 basis points cuts. I admit it's still around 50-50, but it's still favoring another 50 basis point cut, then another 25 cut. So 75 basis points of cuts through December still. Remember, we only have 2 meetings left, but everything's fantastic. We have to start rapidly cutting. Greed mode, still solid in greed, and the market's dirt cheap at 36.75 Schiller PE. Nosebleed territory. Again, Micron was yesterday. Not much this morning. I didn't even look at stuff like CarMax. Costco this afternoon. I'm really interested to see what Costco prints. So, also we're going into the window for stock buyback blackouts because of the next quarter results. So, let's take a look. Good morning, options 22. So, Mark Cuban is a proof that even morons can become fabulously wealthy in America. Well, nobody said, look, you had to be smart to be rich. All right, minor target is 58.48. Next major target, 58.71. We passed 58.71, especially tomorrow. The potential massive double top is off the table. So, trend's still up. I talked about earlier this week how this sideways basing with the rotation zone catching up was still favored the upside, and we have broken out. So, key support now comes back at 5,800. And this market's just on a massive march. So that's really, and then the rotation zone support coming in about 57.50. So even any pullback to 57.50 is just normal at this point, unless it's done on huge momentum. We are massively overbought. We've got cycles at the top on the daily, back heading into the top area on the weekly, but we still have those weekly divergences. So I am still short-term bullish but cautious. Good morning. Yeah, I bet you are, Andrea. I bet you are. Thank you for tuning in. And you know, China's doing the massive stimulus right now. So, you know, all this is going to not end well. I don't know when, but it's not going to end well. Until then, come on, bring me my chart levels. What happened here? Where are my lines? Hold on. Oh, this is interesting. Let me just check something. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with TradingView. This should have been closing in on the 87.5 levels. I don't know why they're not showing up. Are all my levels gone? Yeah. Huh. That's weird. They're on the S&P. They're on the S&P. Where are all my other lines? Oh well. All right, we'll just have to do this the old-fashioned way. The next base, if you still have the harmonics on your chart, I don't know where they are right now, but the next key little resistance area just based off pure price action is about just over 20,600, so 20,625. Key support is coming in right now about 20,200. So that's where that sits. Back at cycle tops on the daily, weekly, massively overbought on the daily, not yet on the weekly. And the double top, even with this hitch on the Nasdaq, is still in place. See, I do not get this. All right, we'll use this chart. So we're trading right at the 87.5 harmonic. We went to this next harmonic area. As I said before, here's your next key little target for today, 20,625 if it continues to march higher. But we've now finished the 87.5 rule with the NASDAQ. Does not mean it has to stop. I'm going to watch if this keeps rallying towards the upper end of this channel. What else? Your trading view levels are loading slowly. I guess it could be a trading view issue. All right, the Dow. Yesterday, little sell-off with the Dow futures, the yummies. Coming back to rotation zone, rotating up. Now, your major support on the Dow is still back towards about 41.8. Next key levels to the upside, if this breaks out higher, which it has not been able to yet, but if it breaks above yesterday's high area, and not for today, but the next target cluster area is about 43,200. The Russell, you're really going to have it go out on this too. All right, the Russell back to the rotation zone. There we go. Yeah, it is loading slowly. It's really, before I can get bullish, now the Russell's daily cycles have bottomed, but I need it to get above. What's interesting, if it closes above yesterday's high, it's a % B buy. So going into the end of the day, I'm watching the yesterday's high, and that would be for a bounce play, and I'd watch for a potential double top pattern setting up here. But it needs a fair more rallying to do. Yesterday's low would be the first level of key support, about 22.16, and then your major support coming in at 2,200. The VIX dropping. The DAX breaking out higher. Boy, well, give me my levels back, please. Oh, this is a pain in the ass. Okay. Trading view, why are you screwing up? Oh, we'll just do this then. I'm just putting on. So, next key area for the DAX is 19.5, 19,495. There we go. There we go. So 19.5 is the next key level, and that's the same one that was there before, because you see if I delete one of them, the other one still remains. So same reverse harmonics as before. The notes, pretty flat. Right now, this is not a double. There's too many bottoms in here, but we'll be paying attention to 114.30 level on the 10-year notes. On the yield, same thing. We don't have a double top, but it has closed back above the rotation zone. And so far, with daily cycles at the top, it's a sideways correction against very major resistance. You can see the very major resistance level. If it pops through here and yields keep rising, 3.87 is the next target. On any pullback, we're looking at about 3.7 as major support. The 10s, 2s, this is contract roll, so I'd have to look at the FRED 10-2 spread today. I would ignore this for a couple days because of the contract roll. Dollar index, still, look at this. We had the breakdown on Tuesday with the lowest close, which I was going to talk about yesterday, but I had to cancel. Yesterday bounced back. So this with the waning momentum and the dollar, you see the waning momentum, we could be getting a significant divergence and still holding massive support. This could get interesting with the dollar, even though everybody thinks the dollar should continue weakening. It's starting to flatten out the rotation zone. Pay attention to Monday the 23rd's high. Crude coming back down. So I think everybody now knows it could not. Remember, I talked about on Tuesday, the Tuesday move. Let's see if I can get back there. So Tuesday, remember, it broke above the key support and then double topped, broke back below the key support, which turned into resistance and then started to sell off. So that breakout I was watching for stalled out, and then topping pattern, prior support that it broke out of turned into resistance, and it could not sustain above the 62.5. So you see here, it could not get up there. Then it sold off. So remember, anything, let me remove this level real quick. Anything between the 50 and 62.5 still has to prove itself with closing below the 62.5, even though the breakout short term, that's what I was focused on, came back down, closing back below support. Now we've had a 2-day sell-off. So, goal, this is good. So, key for me, trading below 67.05. So 67. We start trading below there does not mean we're still holding a flattening rotation zone, and it's still negative on the weekly, pop straight to the weekly rotation zone, rotating down. But this could be setting up with a nice pattern. Does not mean it ever has to trigger, but this gives us Tuesday's high as the major inflection point for any bullish move. Other than that, if we do get a %B buy setup down here over the next couple days, I'll be looking for that, especially what's going on potentially in the Middle East. Natty Gas with the roll, finish the double patterns. I'm sorry, again, TradingView is very slow. But this finished the double pattern. It would have finished it anyways without the contract roll. So, and by the way, this is if you're wondering, I wish these lines would come up, but if you're wondering what to do, like let's say you're in this trade and, well, do I then continue to roll it forward? Well, that's where the closing above that 62.5 was very key, which it did. So this could be rolled for a continued move higher to retest those prior harmonics that aren't coming up. Because something's wrong with TradingView. Gold. This is getting, if you look at the weekly, yes, I've been long-term bullish on gold, but this is getting overextended. Very overextended. Look at this monthly. Pretend this was a stock chart or anything else. Look at this. Does not mean it has to stop, but this has gone vertical. All right, this last month has gone vertical. So, at least if you're in it for the short term, know where your pullback levels are and where your short term stops. For the long term, we could easily pull back to 2,600 without blinking, and we could even pull back to around 2,500 without damaging the long-term trend yet. So keep that in mind, please. Please, please, please. Silver. I know we finished the 87.5 there. Boy, this is really frustrating. But silver up against some major resistance and could be setting up a topping bar today. Now, I wouldn't be shocked to see silver pulling back to the 31 area. I can't really give the levels. I guess I could do this. Put on new harmonics, I mean. But if it reverses, the next harmonic is 33.50. I'm watching for at least a topping pattern to come in here. Stuff is just trading at a euphoric level. Copper coming into a major prior resistance zone and 50% harmonic. Remember, 50 to 62.5, we'll start watching for a rollover. Look how massively overbought copper is. Again, a lot of this metal stuff in the short term is based off the China stimulus. Yen, nothing to really talk about here just yet. The only thing that keeps me bullish short term on the yen is a close above 145.17. The spiders and the Qs, it's not going to give me my levels. It's there. Okay, it is. So 574.39 was the next minor harmonic. 574.74 is where we're opening. Then 575.89. And then your next major level is 578.88. The key support is now back at roughly 570 to 572.88. On any pullback, I'd be paying attention to 572.88. If we have a major reversal, something happens, especially after Fed speak, not expecting it, but major reversal levels, I'd be targeting 571.14 and then 570.04. The Qs. The Qs. Here we go. Remember, the 87.5 magnet price is around this 493.30. We're trading 493.60. So we're going to gap up above that. Any rollover play, the key levels are about 488.50 and then 485.82. The next level up, the next level to watch for is a gap left behind back from July 16th at 496.34. Okay, so that would be the next target to the upside. Ethereum, which is the only one that has the potentially bullish pattern, is nowhere near triggering yet. But it's basing sideways at the rotation zone and holding the cycle rollover. So I will be watching if this starts breaking above about 26.50. Tesla looks like it's going to complete the 87.5. Remember, close back above the 62.5, retest the 62.5, and now the 87.5. Again, Tesla's running like it's back. Everything's in super bull mode again. Going into earnings and deliveries and robotaxi days. I think deliveries could be halfway decent, but their margins are going to suck for earnings. And it still doesn't warrant the stock prices, but it's getting into a massive topping area. So if you're long Tesla, I know where your trailing stop levels are. NVIDIA, next key target is 127.52, and then the prior high level about 130. Key support is now coming in at 123.68 on the rollover. What have I missed with comments? China is in a major recession, but they are in panic mode. They're injecting tons of money into the system. It's not going to save them. And it's now starting to ripple here. It's why you're seeing a lot of stuff just go on massive. You know, the stimulus is not going to end well worldwide. Good morning, Richard. Yeah, down 30%. Thank you. Somebody says MU is in a gamma squeeze. A gamma squeeze is when there's a lot of options gamma kicking in. So when there's a lot, especially at the money or very near to at the money strikes being bought, it juices up the gamma. The market makers then have to hedge that. Okay, because they they have to, it just fuels a buying frenzy in the short term. Did I clear my cookies? I actually wasn't having this, I ate my cookies, but I did not clear my cookies. But this is something, I'll go check on the web program, but this was working fine earlier today. Thoughts on TLT? Let's take a look at TLT. Thoughts on TLT? Coming in against very key support. I'd be watching for a potential bounce, short-term bounce buy pattern. The daily rotation zone going bearish, but you're back to just a weekly rotation zone, and the little mini double finished playing out. So you're back to very key support. I'd start watching with daily cycles at a low for a little bounce play in this. Does not mean it has to keep going. I think the longer term yields are going to start pricing in more of a stagflationary response. So we could still get a little more pullback. Now, this is just from a fundamental perspective. From a technical perspective on the weekly, it's actually not held the support level. But what would concern me is we start closing below the weekly rotation zone if you're trying it for a longer term bullish play. I'd be, again, watching for a bounce setup. FCX has triggered daily double bottom. It's up another 5%. Yep. I'll just have to. Now, this is an example of one that's was tough to trade on the daily because it gapped up close to your first target and didn't give you much of a pullback. So this could be something that could be traded intraday now. But some of these patterns, some of these things, unless you try to front run it, it's hit the 75% harmonic. The next key target area is 52.68 to 53.22. Bitcoin will reach 200,000 next year. You're welcome, Eric. You're welcome, Anissa. All right, let's just peek at the S&P. The S&P going into the broken harmonic open. Let's take a look at the little short term. Ooh, little sell. Where's the... Wow, that's interesting. So a tick, 1100 tick, and the S&P is selling off into key support. Here's your little key support zone. Remember, support resistance are generally areas. So here's the key support. So the only thing would be here is if it starts really breaking below this 58.18 level, then yeah, that's pretty key support. You're into somewhat of a clear path move. You're definitely into a clear path move on the hourly. So pay close attention to this if you trade the S&P in the short term, this opening print, because we had a very strong tick, but a weak thing. So I'd be watching on the bounce in the S&P to now if it can't get above some resistance. And the resistance, well, this is a lot of selling pressure. Is somebody speaking right now? Is somebody speaking? I know there's Fed speak. I will have to look to see what's being talked about because this, based off that strong tick, it's getting external influences. Maybe somebody said the market's too euphoric. All right, I'll have to look into that. Until then, if it in the short term, if it can't get above about 58.23 on any bounce back, I would not be interested from the bullish side. I shall talk to everyone tomorrow. Remember, PCE Friday and sentiment coming out tomorrow. Costco earnings after the close. Hope everyone has a wonderful trading day. Bye for now.